In this episode, I'm with Loren Howard, the GOAT of indoor rowing.
Once I got rid of those limiting beliefs and I changed that, like I can do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna train, I'm gonna push through, I'm gonna, like, it just, like you push through that barrier and you realize that it's a belief that's keeping you from achieving things or getting what you want. You always want to police your thoughts, right? Like, why am I thinking this? Like, what? Like, so we have thoughts all the time that come to us, and if we can kind of drill down to the origin of those thoughts and like what the belief is below them, and if those thoughts are being productive towards us or not. You grind until you get to the top. When you get to a certain level of satisfaction, then enjoy that level of satisfaction. You know, I always say if you could bottle up motivation and sell it, you'd be a billionaire. The lesson for me was to make sure that I'm always having something competition-wise that I'm striving for, and goals that I'm going for, not just in business but in health and in other things, so that it'll carry over to all other areas of my life.
Everyone wants to be great, but only few actually get there. And I'm on a mission to find out what all the greatest have in common. I've traveled tirelessly to find, sit down, and talk with GOATs. People that are arguably the greatest of all time at what they do. Sales, marketing, advertising, business, podcasts, branding, you name it. The way they do things may be different, but they all seem to see the world the same way. To them, success is not only achievable, but inevitable. And we'll get inside their heads as they share their expertise with me each week. My name's Mike Arce, and this is The GOAT Show. This episode is sponsored by Loud Rumor. If you own a fitness studio, cryotherapy, or massage business, there is no company in the industry better at generating high-quality leads than Loud Rumor. In just the last 2 years, Loud Rumor has worked with nearly 1,000 fitness and wellness companies and won ranking Arizona's Ad Agency of the Year in 2017. Getting more paying members in the door can be tough. Let Loud Rumor do the heavy lifting and get new people in your doors every day. Go to loudrumor.com and learn more. Also sponsored by Agency GSD. Starting a digital agency was definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made. Building it, however, was a lot more challenging than I expected. I always wish someone just gave me a roadmap that I could follow and just let me be a fly on the wall at the successful agencies out there so I could really see how it's done. Agency GSD allows you to do just that. Stop playing small and visit agencygsd.com to learn how to help hundreds of clients get it to 7 figures and be extremely profitable along the way. Again, go to agencygsd.com. All right, today I am here with Loren Howard. He's been a mentor of mine for about 4 or 5 years now. I've gotten to know him really, really well. And what we're going to be talking about on the show is this crazy thing that you accomplished, but how you've actually accomplished it. It's crazy for me because there's nothing that's ever been attached to you. When I think of Loren Howard, when I thought of Loren Howard, I thought super successful business guy. You know, you've got 5 businesses in 4 different industries that you've been able to get to 7 to 8 figures, which is, I mean, only 3% of businesses ever get to 1 million once, right? And you've gotten 5 in 4 industries, and you're 34, 35 years old?
34. I'll be 35 next month.
Okay, and then
Damn it.
If it wasn't enough for you to be like super successful in building these businesses, and you're still going, you're still building more and more, you decide I'm going to get a world record one day.
3
world records?
Yeah.
You got 3 world records? I didn't even know that till right now.
Yeah.
Well, I know the one. Got indoor. You decided.
They're all in indoor rowing. They're all sprint records, but yeah.
Sprint records in indoor rowing.
Yep.
And like that wasn't your thing 3 years ago.
No, yeah.
So in a matter of 5 months, you trained.
Yeah.
And you got 3 world records.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to have you on is not because everyone on the show wants to learn how to be an indoor rower. Because I'll tell you right now,
it's not that cool.
That's the minority of the audience right now.
Yeah.
The majority is not interested in being an indoor rowing master. But I believe strongly that everybody on here that watches this show is because they want to learn how to be great. And so, I mean, to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to be not only great, but the greatest at something, and you do it in 5 months, and people have been training for years to do this, that just says something about who you are. And also the reason I even got you as my mentor is based around that. So really quick, Loren, just to kind of set everything up, man, like what's your main business right now? Where do you make most of your money?
Sure. So my main business right now is hard money lending. So I own a company called Prime Plus Mortgages, which is a licensed mortgage bank that specializes in hard money loans, which essentially are short-term like bridge loans or for fix and flip guys, guys that want to buy properties that need to close quickly. We're an asset-based lender, so we're not a credit-based lender at all. So we don't even pull credit. We can approve a loan in an hour. We can fund on it in 24 hours. Interest only, 6 months, 12-month loans. And so that's where I make most of my money. I have a rental portfolio as well, about 20 houses. But those are kind of, we've had a trading business for the last year, but doesn't make any money. So but we're on the cusp.
So that's like totally different from indoor rowing.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's banking.
So when I came to you, I came to you because at the time my business wasn't doing $1 million yet,
Yep.
you know, and I surpassed that quickly once I started working with you, because you really, like I tell everybody, you were the string to my balloon. You kept me like from getting into space and focus on the things that were important. And you know, what I got most from you is all the conditioning that came with myself first, right?
Yep.
So I think you related to like a race car or like a car, right? Like you've got to be able to treat your body like a machine if you want it to perform like one.
Yep.
So tell me about some of the stuff that you do on a regular basis, the stuff that you check. 'Cause you do talk about the blood test and all that stuff.
Yeah, sure. Well, you know, fitness and performance and athletics has been a passion of mine, and since from a very early age. And when I wanted to play professional football from the time I was probably in 5th or 6th grade. My grandpa played pro football, played at Stanford as an All-American, and played for the Eagles for a couple of years. And I was named after him. I wanted to follow in his footsteps. So performance has always been a huge passion and hobby, and really at one point in time profession of mine when I was playing football. I mean, I was an All-American at Northwestern, freshman All-American, and Big Ten Defensive Freshman of the Year, and then All Big Ten. And so I had a pretty good career going. I was supposed to be the second DN to go in the draft going into my junior year.
And for you guys listening in and you're not watching, Loren's a big guy. How tall are you?
6'5", probably 270, 275 right now.
6'5", 270. So like you're a hard guy.
I got abs, bro. I got a six pack.
Yeah, and he's solid.
It's all of it.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead.
No, so you know, we were always looking of ways to increase performance, because you know when you're talking a first round contract and you know you're talking millions and millions of dollars on the line, and so and then after football was over and I got injured and I couldn't go that route, it was still it was in me. It was kind of bred into me. I had developed that in my character. So I sought after things always to make sure my health and my wellness was at peak top for performance, and also just for kind of a habit or a hobby, I guess. And so now I have a hyperbaric chamber in my house that I get in.
What's that?
So hyperbaric chamber it kind of looks like a giant tube. Essentially, you get in and then it pressurizes the tube to about like 1.5 or 1.7 atmospheric pressures.
What am I in right now?
That's like 1.2 is how we just sit hanging out here. So, but it's like being like 30 to 40 feet underwater. Okay.
Wow.
And then it pumps pure oxygen. I have an oxygen converter into it. So essentially, it floods your system with oxygen under pressure and helps you recover and oxygenate your system.
Does it really work? Are you noticing?
Yeah, I noticed energy and recovery from it. It's not like when you get like severe burns and you go to a burn unit, they'll put you in something that's like 2.4 atmospheric pressures, but you can't have one of those at your house. I mean, those things are made out, they're like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it helps with recovery. I also I do IVs and ozone IVs and nutrient IVs. My wife's a nurse. I used to have a compounding pharmacy. Is one of my.
Where do you have this thing? Is it like in the kitchen, like next to the fridge?
It's in the pantry.
You go
next to the beef jerky. So I had the hyperbaric chamber. No, it's in one of my. Well, when I was training for rowing, it was literally in my bedroom. My poor wife. I had this thing sitting over in the corner. It's this big ass.
And you're just sitting this
thing.
I'm
like,
creepy,
I get in there and
it
then blows up, and it's pressurized. Like it's a lot of pressure. Right? You have like 4 pumps pumping air in, and the oxygen. And the first couple times I got in it, my wife would kept poking over and looking at the hole, making sure I was still alive down there. You're tapping on the glass. Hey, you okay?
Oh, because it looks like you're probably passed out.
Well, it's just a big giant, big giant tube filled with
Can you
a
mess
ton
that
of air.
up? Like, could you, like, if you're there by yourself, could you accidentally like pressure blow your head up?
No, I don't mean I haven't yet. No, I don't think so. It's not. It's not that.
Because I know with cryotherapy, like it's not recommended that you do it yourself. Like somebody's got to be there with you.
This one's okay. I think I never asked that question. Actually,
that's a good question. I feel like you would ask me that. if you were coaching me on not dying.
No. There's not the risks are not there. I mean, they give you when you buy it like a little don't do this and don't do this. They like don't bring your iPad in there, but I did that anyway. But I don't think that's a big deal. I don't know. I live life on the edge, man.
So you got that, and then I know you do other stuff too. So what else?
So it's a difference between, like, let's say recovery, supplementation and nutrition, training. Those, I guess those would be the three buckets that you kind of play in. So, and the first thing you need to start off with is like your blood work. Okay, so like I gave you the analogy earlier, like when you're analyzing a car, if something's not, you need to take the car in and do a full checkup on it first, and then once you realize everything's working right, then you can go try to enhance and put rocket fuel in it. Well,
right.
You need to make sure that your blood work, your hormones, your nutrition panel, all of those things are dialed in. So I'd recommend everyone to get a full male panel. And to make sure that everything's in line. Look at your testosterone. Look at your IGF-1.
Well, hold on. So say, because these guys watching, they don't know what you're talking about.
Okay,
so where do I? Because I've done this because you've coached me
Sure.
on it, and that's another reason I wanted you on the show. Like,
Yeah.
It totally changed my life. But where do you go to get these things that you just mentioned?
Yeah, so I have a naturopathic doctor, but any doctor can write you a
Naturopathic doctor?
any doctor can write you a script for blood work. Okay.
Okay.
If you don't want to go to a doctor and you just want to go buy it, you can go to like Life Extensions. Okay. And Life Extensions is a company that has lef.com or .org, okay. I think is what it is. Okay. lef.org, and you can buy the blood panels right there. It'll cost you between $200 and $400 for the full panel. Okay. But if you have insurance and good insurance, you can just have your doctor say, "Hey, doctor, I want to get some blood work done. I want a full male panel with all the hormones included." And you go down to LabCorp with the prescription from the doctor, or the doctor just puts it in the computer right there, and then you get your blood drawn. You get the results back in like 2 days.
And so, like, what are you looking for? Like, what are the red flags that most people have to look out for?
Usually, like low testosterone. You look at your cholesterol. You want to look at your thyroid, make sure your thyroid's in line. You want to look at your liver and kidney enzymes. I happen to party probably a little more than I should.
Yeah.
It's getting less though. It's getting better. My wife says every year. And then IGF-1 levels is like your growth hormone levels as well. You want to see where those are at. Like all of those things can affect your recovery. They can affect how you feel, your energy levels, your vitality, and then your naturopath can make recommendations based on supplementation or hormone replacement therapy or whatever that they think.
So like the average guy, because when the average guy thinks about like, okay, testosterone's low, that means they're thinking, okay, I got to do steroids.
Yeah. Well.
Right? So now what is that like? For the people watching, there's a stigma out there. So like, I understand how you look at it, but like break it down for everybody here.
Well, I'm going on 35, number one. So I don't do testosterone therapy. I never have because I haven't had to yet. I use a product called Test Force, which is calcium chelated D-aspartic acid, which is just a natural testosterone booster. Okay. People that have low testosterone, they can recommend like HCG, which is human chloronic gonadotropin, which can make your testosterone be increased on its own, or they can do like testosterone therapy. So it's testosterone shots or pellets or whatever like the endocrinologist will give to them. I mean, after age of 30, like your testosterone, I think significantly starts to slow down. Now, granted, I'm not a doctor. This is all kind of things that I've learned from talking to my naturopath and my friends who have kind of been through it.
Yeah. But your friends are like really into this stuff. Like I know your friend, like your friends, like this is their life. They study this.
Yeah, they're definitely. Well, a lot of them definitely are, and so like it's definitely an interesting topic. But when you get the report back, it kind of tells you the ranges. You know what I mean? And then the ranges, like if you're in range, it's good. If you're out of range, pretty easy to read. And then your doctor will make recommendations based upon that. But that's the first place to start. You want to make sure, and that's just your hormones. The second thing probably would be like a micronutrient panel to see if you're deficient in any,
like vitamin D.
Yes, like how well you're absorbing your nutrients, because you can have a deficiency which can affect your energy or whatever else. And so there's a company called SpectraCell. SpectraCell that'll do those. And
by the way, for everybody listening in, these links are going to be in the actual description as well, and on the show notes page. For everybody watching, we're putting it on the screen.
Yeah, sure. So SpectraCell, they'll tell you like, here's how well they test a bunch of nutrients and vitamins and minerals, and then they tell you what your levels are at and if you have a deficiency, and then you can supplement based on that deficiency. Okay. So those are kind of like, and then I also like there's food allergies, right? So, and when I say food allergy, it doesn't mean like, I eat this food and then like I get hives all over me. It just means that you don't digest it, you don't break it down very well. Maybe your body has a response to it. So there's a food allergy test as well.
McKenna just did hers.
Yeah,
this
so like,
weekend.
it's pretty wild though. You know, you can go and like for me, I'm like dairy. I don't like.
You can't have nuts.
Yeah, I was allergic to dairy. I've been taking whey protein my entire life. You know what I mean? And I still got huge. No,
but it's something that maybe like
but I could have got bigger.
Years from now, it could have messed you up.
Yeah,
right?
or just don't digest it very well. And food allergies can change based on tolerances. If you eat too much of a certain thing, you can develop like an intolerance to it. So probably something you want to do every couple of years. Okay. And then after that, you know, there's theories on blood type diet. I've tried a lot of different things, and it's it's hard to tell what everything is working, what's not working. You know what I mean? And then genetics has another big.
So like, well, tell me about genetic. Like, what do you do for genetic testing?
So I have made a lot. So genetic testing, I went and got my 23andMe done, and then you can actually pull down like your full genome. I don't think it's exactly your full map genome, but it's like 900,000 lines of code, and I uploaded to this. What the hell is the name of that website? I think it was called like NutraHacker or something. Okay. And they take your like potential genetic mutations, and then they like kind of send you out a report on all the ones that are and like what it kind of means, and then supplementation they kind of recommend. And more than anything, what was interesting to me is that like I'm like a super high energy person, and I'm like so like. I don't know if I'm using the terminology right, but it says I up. There was a lot of indicators that said that. You know what I mean? And so like GABA is like a calming. I'm not a doctor, by the way, so I'm just trying to regurgitate this. But
yeah, you made me do it.
Yeah,
mine said that I'm a night owl, which I believe I am.
Yeah,
I'm not a morning person by nature, but I force myself to wake up at 4:30 because I like getting my stuff done. Because I have 4 kids, right?
Yeah, so
I got to get it done in the morning before they even wake up. But yeah, I mean, the days that I do switch, which sometimes I do, I mean, I could be up till 2, 3 in the morning, and I feel like I'm good at 2, 3.
Yeah, fully. It was. I was saying it was interesting to me because like it was just validating a lot of things I knew that I was, and how based on how I act and how like all like what my patterns are. Right. It was just like validation, being like, shit, that possibly could be genetic. Right. You know, and so I didn't get a huge takeaway from other than it's just fascinating to me, those kind of things. But then kind of once you have like your baseline of your blood work and your food allergies and your micronutrient panel, then that's kind of where you start, right? And then kind of modify it from those things, what you need if you're deficient in anything, and what to take. Like there's things you can take for testosterone that will increase, like vitamin D, lifestyle, working out, training hard. There's a lot of different things.
Yeah, like a certain type of training actually increases testosterone, like combat training.
Yeah, or like high intensity training, or you know, and so. The next thing would probably be like diet and nutrition I'd probably focus on, and you know, I take a range of supplements like mitochondria. I mean, I give you a list.
What does that do?
It says it's supposed to make your mitochondria, which are your energy sources in your cells, more efficient. Okay. And to answer your question, I've been taking it for so long. And fish oils, krill oil, I take a ton of those. Like, I have my little green drink I make in the morning that my wife makes me, and it's got like,
mine. It's
mine now. It's yours now.
It's stranded from me. Is the same ingredients?
No, I think it's pretty much. We might have added a few things here. Oh, you know what we did add is you should probably add to yours is you know
the
how
rainbow?
You use, yes, the rainbow stuff.
Okay,
you know the green vibrance is like.
Does it make it taste better? Because it tastes bad. The one I take tastes bad.
It doesn't taste very good. Let's put it that way. But so like the greens and the chlorophyll are all for like alkalizing your system. So like, you know, you want your system to be slightly alkaline. Like an acidic system, that's where like cancer spurs, and this is not good for you. Yeah. Like sugar is a big acidic. To that. So, you know, then it comes down to like your diet and nutrition. I try to eat like a I wouldn't say I eat like keto diet. It's like I will eat carbs, but I kind of stack them on my workouts or have them in the evenings, and they're usually like, you know, fruits or apples or berries.
Yeah, but you're like a high fat. So would you say you're more like paleo?
Yeah, probably similar to paleo, something like that. Yeah, and it really depends. And I I fast as well, so I intermittent fast. So if I don't work out in the mornings, I'll do my drink probably around like 10 or 11. And that drink has a ton of fish oil in it and stuff. Really good fats to keep, and the greens to keep you going. And then I probably won't eat till like 1. Like I didn't eat till 2:30 today before I came over here and got in the car. And my energy level is fine. I think it helps me stay lean. And the leaner you are, the more like insulin sensitive you are, which means the more your body can handle carbs.
You know, the crazy thing is a lot of people, especially in the fitness world, a lot of people can't even understand waiting till 2:30 because they feel like they're going to lose a lot of their muscle mass.
Yep.
But you are like massive.
Yeah, not the case. I mean, well,
it's really as long as you get your stuff in, right?
Yeah, and you gotta get your training in right, and you gotta feed. It really depends. Like, the leaner you are, the more efficient your body is, the more carbs you can tolerate. You know, That's kind of how it works.
So funny thing is, the leaner you can get yourself, the more carbs you can actually eat.
Correct.
Whereas some people that have a hard time letting go of the carbs to get to the lean spot in the first place,
they don't.
The harder it is, like carbs do even worse for them. So if they could just take it for a little while, get leaner, they can actually have carbs and it won't do as much of an impact.
Once they get leaner, 100%. The problem is you have everyone walk around skinny fat, right?
Yeah,
so like they're not like big jack guys. They're probably only weighing 175 to 195 pounds, 200 pounds, but their body fat's 25%. You know what I mean? So like they have to really, to get lean where they need to be efficient, they have to lose a significant amount of body fat, and that's I think the fastest best way to do that is go keto. Do high intensity training in the morning, fastest cardio, but it could take you 6 months to a year of eating clean like that, and then that becomes a discipline problem, not necessarily you give someone. I always say if you could bottle up motivation and sell it, you'd be a billionaire, because everyone say and now people have kind of done that, like the drug companies. They got Adderall and shit. But it's a similar thing.
As energy, I would say, more than motivation.
Yeah. But if you bottle up like motivation and drive and sell, the problem is you can hand someone the fountain of the youth, but you can't make them drink from it. If someone really wanted to go figure all this stuff out, they could take the time to just go online and research for a day, and they'd have the playbook from all the top. With the speed of information these days and all the top trainers and nutritionists and scientists out there, you can go and spend, like I said, a day and go figure out what works now and put together a game plan.
Right.
You got to follow that game plan. And that's a lot of times for me, like I stay pretty consistent with a lot of stuff that I do, but it fluctuates from time to time. Like I don't eat all the time towards my blood type, which I probably should, or I eat stuff that I'm allergic. Like I like cheese.
But because most of the time you do.
Most of the time I do.
Most people are the opposite. Most of the time they eat unhealthy, and then maybe they have like a salad every once in a while.
Correct.
Yeah.
So then outside of that, for recovery, like I have a cold plunge in my house, and I have a steam sauna and an infrared sauna.
Hold on, this is all in your house?
Yeah.
So where's your cold plunge?
So have you been in my bedroom before? There's that sunken in hot tub that I never used or filled up. It just sat there. So one day I was like, I would go to the village sometimes with my buddies, and then I'd sit in the cold tub, and I was like, when do I feel best and most recovered? And it'd always be after I did hot and cold contrast. I did that in college when I was playing football. I did that like when I was training, and I was like, I want to turn this into a cold plunge. So I found this chiller that looks like a giant AC unit, and I had them install it and turn my hot tub in my room into a cold plunge.
Really?
So it gets down to like 45 degrees now.
How much does that cost to do, to convert?
It probably cost me like four grand for the thing, and then I had to run like a 220 line to it, so probably another like $1,900. I don't know. I was all in probably $5-6 grand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for me, like I kind of have this theory that like if it's paying for like health and wellness, like I don't budget for it. Like I'll budget for other things, but like when it comes to vitality, I'll spring and for it. So I have that. I do a lot of hot and cold contrast for recovery.
So where do you go to the hot?
So I have a steam shower right next to it that gets really hot, or go to the hot tub outside, and then into the cold plunge. So I'll go like 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, like 4 or 5 rounds, which really helps me recover.
So 2 minutes in the cold plunge?
2 minutes in the hot. And I always try to finish on cold for like 5 minutes. Or if I don't do the hot at the time, I'll just go straight cold until I stay there for like 8 to 10 minutes.
Wow.
There's a lot of science.
How often, every day?
I would probably say 4 to 5 days a week doing that,
So
there's a leak in it right now.
Here's the thing. You treat your body like an athlete would treat their body. And that
till the weekend rolls around.
Till the weekend rolls around, which is probably how most athletes treat their body. But you treat your body like an athlete, even though you were in business, you're an entrepreneur. So when it came down to being a world record indoor rower, it's not like you had to make this huge transformation. Like
true,
you were already treating your body almost as well as a lot of these athletes, if not better in some cases too.
Sure. I mean, other than I would party on the weekends. You know what I mean? I think a lot of these guys kind of stay away from the alcohol. But
so let's talk about the indoor rowing real quick.
Yeah.
So how many people? Like, is this a big thing? I don't know. Like, you probably noticed circles that you've never even noticed before. Once you got
100%. I think it's bigger overseas than it is here.
Like where? Where are people?
Like Australia and like New Zealand and like over in Europe. Do
they have like competitions and tournaments?
100%.
Go to these
things? They have competitions. They have tournaments every year. There's a community which I didn't even know existed, by the way, until I got into it. So
all these guys know you now. These guys in Australia have to know who you are.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
And you're this guy in Paradise Valley.
Yeah, just freaking
that no one heard about a year before.
Yeah,
and now they're chasing you.
So keep in mind too, like, so in the rowing community, like in the Olympics, the shortest distance is 2K. Okay.
Right.
So I'm an indoor row sprinter. So like I have the record for the 100 meter, the world record for the 100 meter, the 500 meter, and then the 1 minute, which is max distance from 1 minute, which is 430 meters. Okay. So like it's a big deal, but like all the true like rowing purists are like, what's your 2K? Like, I don't know, man. I'm not a mile runner. I'm a sprinter. You know what I mean? And so, but it's still. I mean, the record that I actually tied the record for the 500 meter, which was set 27 years ago.
It's been going on for 27 years?
Yeah, that record had been around for 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know rowers existed back then.
Yeah. I think even before that.
Jeez. Well, yeah, they're setting records.
Season, man.
So
they've been rowing before they were.
I know
they were
rowing
using
like
motors.
in a boat. I know Vikings.
Oh, like
were
indoor,
doing it.
yeah.
An indoor
sure.
rowing. Like we built
I
a
wouldn't.
machine
And the
for
funny
it?
thing is, the same company that sanctioned it then that does now. Concept 2 is the one that controls all the records. They have the ERG, which has the code on it that you send in with the video that validates it and stuff. And it's that's what's accepted by Wikipedia. It's what's accepted by the community.
Are you in Wikipedia as this indoor rowing?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What do I search? Just Loren Howard? Or
You just search like indoor rowing world records.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'd be the 100 meter, 500 meter, and then the 1 minute.
Dude, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty. It was
So
cool,
tell me,
it was hard.
So what made you decide? Because that was so random.
Yeah,
like you played football and stuff like that. Where did you go to?
So like, so I have an indoor rowing machine in my house because I have a gym.
I remember that.
Yeah, I have a gym in my house, and so we would always do a 500 meter warm up, and I was always pretty good at the indoor.
Which is,
rowing machines.
by the way, this guy's gym is pretty cool. So it's like a separate building you built in your outside of your house.
Yeah.
And then you walk up to it, and the doors automatically open, like when you go to the grocery store.
Yeah, it's like a sensor. Yeah, they're automatic. Yeah. That's pretty
and then
cool.
you've got like a whole like CrossFit area. You've got a shower and bathroom. You've got a smoothie area. There's like ropes hanging. Like you've literally.
The rope's only been used like once.
Yeah, but it's more for aesthetics. Like you got a real gym in there.
Yeah, no, it's I always wanted to have a gym, and it's one of the kind of things that I did that it's like my prized thing, and have it close. And my friends can work out, me and my wife and her friends work out, and it's and I got my square footage out of it with for the house too. So, but yeah, it's a pretty cool. I mean, it's like almost 2,000 square feet. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like the size of a lot of houses.
Yeah.
And it's your gym outside of your house.
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's really,
So you got this rower in your house, and then what made you say, I'm gonna go for a world record?
So like, I forget, one day I just went in there one day and I was feeling pretty good. And I was carved up, and I was like, I'm feeling pretty strong. I'm gonna go on here and I want to freaking rip on this thing as hard as I can for 500 meters and see where it lands. Right. So I get in there and I hit a 116 flat.
116.
Yeah, my best.
The fastest is for me is like 138.
Yeah, my best before that was like a 118, and then so I hit a 116 flat, and I was like, I'm gonna go see what these world records are because I've never heard anybody doing that fast. So I started Googling what the world record is, and I posted on Facebook, and someone's like, the world record's 110.5. It was set in 1991.
Wow.
And I was like, I think I could probably get that or get close to it.
Right.
So I hit up Gage, who I think's been on here, my good buddy of mine,
yeah.
buddy since he was 18, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna hire you to come train me, and we're gonna try to go set this world record.
Right.
And he's like, all right. So we hit up the guy, his name's Leo Young.
The guy that
has the in 91. He's still a cool guy. Like he has a company that sells like erg fitness equipment or whatever.
What'd you say? I'm going to get your record.
We hit him up and we were like, he's a pretty cool dude. So he's a very open book. So I hit him up with, hey, here's my stats. I'm this tall, this weight. Here's my I hit this, and we're going to try to go for the record. What do you recommend we do? And so he gave us this whole training protocol and like what he did and how he did it, what his weight and strength were and everything else, and which was really cool of him. So we started programming it out. We would train 3 days a week, high intensity. With these freaking like when you're so it's a minute and 10 seconds. Okay, is essentially what you're going for. So I mean it's like running a 400 meter sprint. I don't know if you've run a 400 meter sprint before, but it's like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Because it's lactic threshold training, so you have to get your strength and your explosion to a certain level
for a certain amount of time.
And then be able to hold it there while you're like it's an average of 1,000 watts generated for the entire time. So it's pretty crazy. So
I don't know how to measure that in my head.
I don't either.
It sounds like a lot.
Just sounds good. Sounds like a lot to me. I think it'll keep a light bulb on. I think maybe 2. And so we just started training for it, started programming for it, and I think we had our first like 4 to 6 week block of training, and in that process, I broke the American record, which was like 111.9. I hit a 111.7. And then I also hit 429 meters, which is my first world record, which is the 1 minute. So what 1 minute is it's the max distance in 1 minute. So it's very similar to the 500 meter row, but it's a timing, not a distance thing, or a distance thing, not a timing thing.
Yeah.
So they're very similar races, but they hold the world record for that one too. So why not get it? You know what I mean? And then I want to back. So a couple of things that I know. Well, I'll tell you. I'll finish telling the story. Then tell me some. What lessons did you learn that you applied this to life, and what did you get out of it? Which there were some. But okay, so then we backed off for like 1 or 2 weeks and kind of recovered, and then went back into the second week of training. No, second block of training, and maybe it's 2 months training block. I forget. But the point is, like, we came back and we hit a 111 flat. So that's the fastest. Like, there's a guy named Sam Locke out of so the guy we were chasing who had the fastest time ever and second and third fastest time ever was a guy named Sam Locke out of Australia.
Right.
He's actually married to the old Prime Minister Abbott, his daughter. But he went to he rode in Princeton, rode the Olympics twice. Wow. The guy is huge. He's like 6'1" and like freaking bigger than me.
Yeah.
But he's 6'1", that's why I'm able to beat him, because I'm 6'5". It's a big leverage game. So he was the one that had the 1 minute record. We beat that record, and then we beat his 500 meter row as well, right? So now we're right there, and I was still like, I was still having some drinks on the weekend. I was taking my training really, really serious and my nutrition. That's when I bought the chamber and everything else. But like, I was only these training blocks are so freaking hard, dude. Like, I mean, every training session, like afterwards, you just lay on the ground, like your legs won't stop burning, and it's just like this crazy burn. And it's just like, I mean, it's like we think about it like all day long before you go into your workout. It's. I mean, I've gone through college 2 days, high school 2 days.
Have you passed out? Like, I feel like
no, I never passed out.
Because I've gone hard and I've gotten to 137.
Yeah.
And it was hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I remember getting off, like, I just sitting there and I wanted to throw up.
30 minutes for 30 minutes. Yeah. 30 minutes after every workout, you just like want to die, and you get used to it. But when you're used to it, you got to push harder. You know what I mean? Because you're always pushing through that threshold and trying to set that record. And so, and the workouts consisted of like one day would be very short interval sprint training, like 100 meter rows with a 1 minute rest, like 10 of them or whatever. And then we would do like heavy deadlifts. So for 4 or 5 months, however long it took, all I was really doing from a weight training perspective is just getting my deadlift as strong as possible, my front squat as strong as possible, and I had like 4 herniated discs in my back too. Like, yeah, it's crazy. But you know what's from football, and my back would always bother me, but I just like, it was a mindset. So I would just grind through and be like, I can get through this, I can do this, and like since then, I got my deadlift a lot heavier and stronger. My back has not hurt me. Really? And I had like a 16 millimeter tear on one side that was new, and 2 other than the other. It was like my back.
Probably not recommending if you have 4 herniated discs.
No, yeah. Well,
this is
disclosure,
the trick to recovery.
If you have 4 herniated discs or 3 herniated discs, go lift some shit, and your back will feel better. I guarantee it. That was the craziest thing. So then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go into this freaking one more time. I'm gonna quit freaking partying, quit drinking, fully dialed in, because this is the last time I'm trying for it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna retire after I go for this. And so I went all in and started training my ass off again. We're going into so you train for like, it's like a 6 to 8 week block of training, and then you deload for like a week and a half, and then you get ready to train to test, right? So we're going to the deload phase, and I was feeling real strong in the gym. I was recovered, and the 100 meter was held by a guy named Ross Love and a guy named Brian Shaw. Tied him in it. Brian Shaw is the world's strongest man. He's like 6'8", like 400 something pounds. He wasn't a rower. He just went in there one day and tugged on it, and he tied the record at 12.8 seconds that Ross Love had. Wow. So I came in there and I was feeling pretty good, and I was like, the best that I've ever done at that point in time was 12.9, and I rip off a 12.6. So I beat the world record by 0.2 of a second in the 100. Wow. Right? So now I got the 1 minute world record, the 100 meter world record, and then I have 11 flat, which is a half second slower than the 500. So then like 3 or 4 days later, we go into it, we Facebook Live it, and freaking get on that thing. And I had a bunch of my buddies there, and hit it, and then we looked down and it said 110.4, and then it rounded up to 110.5. So technically, I'm like, I beat it, but Leo's a good guy, so I'll take the tie on that.
So keep him on
I'll take the co-world record with him. This guy's life was built around like this world record, like everyone. Yeah. So, and that was it, man. I went and drank like about 100 beers that night, and then retired.
He's had it for 27 years.
27 years, yeah.
That's nuts, man. Okay, so I mean, the life lesson I got from this, because I think a lot of people, they hear something even just as simple as getting their business to $1 million.
Sure.
Like I remember there was a point in my career where that felt like a lifetime away and almost not even worth all the work. And then the funny thing is, I don't even remember hitting it. I just remember like going by it because by the time I got close to it, I was already annoyed with how small it was.
Yeah.
Looking at everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Because you start circling up, and I think it sounds like the same thing happened with you, right? Where it's like you're like, all right, let me go do the rower one day, and the next thing you know, you're like, I wonder how close I am to the world record, and then you're like, okay, I'm not that far.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people just kind of get in their own heads. And I remember even in our group when you were mentoring us, I think that was a big struggle for a couple people, not necessarily say the names, but it seemed like they were creating their own barriers. And in reality, like a world record or $1 million in your business or $10 million in your business really isn't that far away. You just got to put in the work that whatever the other guys did. This guy 27 years ago did.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that the work is one thing, and work ethic to me has always come kind of first nature, right? So the biggest lessons that I kind of learned at it was limiting beliefs, right? So before that, like when I was in the gym, I would train, but I wasn't pushing myself to the limits that I had the belief, I'm 34 now, I'm a little over the hill, or my back's hurt and I can't do this, or I mean, those are limiting beliefs which throttled me from taking more action and pushing harder. And once I got rid of those limiting beliefs and I changed that, like I can do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to train, I'm going to push through, I'm going to like it just like you push through that barrier and you realize that it's a belief that's keeping you from achieving things or getting what you want. That was number one.
The funny thing is, a belief can go either way. You could change your belief to I could do that, and at the end of the day, you're going to get whatever you believe. Or
100, dude. We live in a world of perception.
Yeah.
Mine's different than yours, and it changes, and yours changes, and we all walk around and kind of project our own little hologram based on what we believe. You know what I mean? That's the truth, right? And it changes as we grow and as we learn, and so that's 100%. The second thing that I learned about it was having competition in my life brought more things out of me and had a kind of ripple effect in all other areas of my life, because there's something about, and I've always been a competitor back to my sports days and in training, and I was always like, I loved the grind and the process, and I got into the competition, I got into the little bit of trash talking to the guys who are out there. I hit them up on Instagram, and that's how I fed myself, and that just gave me a new energy, and that carried over into my business and my relationships and my motivation and my drive and everything else. And so the lesson for me was to make sure that I'm always having something competition-wise that I'm striving for, and goals that I'm going for, not just in business but in health and in other things, so that it'll carry over to all other areas of my life.
Yeah.
So that was a big lesson.
Well, you were saying like we're walking around like it's our own perception. So like dive into that a little bit. What do you mean? Like, what do you think most people are seeing when they're looking at their own life or like their own opportunities?
Everyone. I was meeting with my YPO mentor I had a new mentor named Max Hansen, really cool guy. Owns a company called Y Scouts, sold a bit, and he was asking me. What he does is you ask yourself, what you always want to police your thoughts, right? Like, why am I thinking this? Like, what? Like, so we have thoughts all the time that come to us, and if we can kind of drill down to the origin of those thoughts and like what the belief is below them, and if those thoughts are being productive towards us or not. Like, one thing that in I think it's a big to know who you are, know yourself. Like, when I catch myself with ego-driven thoughts of comparing myself to others and that competition kind of thing, there's a time and place for it. But when it comes to how you value yourself or size up people, whenever I see those kind of thoughts, I try to avoid them and move them to more positive thoughts. And
give me an example. Like, what do you mean? Like if you're not, let's say you're looking at other people that you went to school with, or you're looking at other people that are
successful, or and you're just like, I should be doing more, I need to do that, or I'm better than that person because of this, or I do this, or everyone has them, man. They're competitive based, ego-driven thoughts, and they're bad unless you're aware. Now keep in mind.
Now you're not working for actually what you want. You're working because you want other people to think certain things about you.
Yeah, and I believe, and we'll get, if you want to get into the whole spirituality talk,
yeah, that's your thing. That's what I got.
Yeah. So I kind of believe that we all kind of have a certain life. I mean, I think we live multiple lives. That's what I fully believe that. And I don't believe that because I just read it in a book one day. I believe that because I've read enough things on it, and based on my own philosophy, that I think we come down here with patterns, like lessons to learn, and we can choose to learn them or not. Like I know what a lot of mine are. Like scarcity was a big lesson for me. I kind of grew up, and my mom was a single parent mom, and we didn't have a lot of money. We bounced around a lot when we were younger, and it was just scarcity is a big lesson for me to learn and how to overcome that, and I know that, and I see it as it's come up, and I've been able to, I feel like, kind of grow past that. But another one is like validation. Like my dad, I was the best football player in the country in my position, and it wasn't necessarily my dad's fault, because I don't think my dad had a good, his dad was a doctor and wasn't around for him and didn't want him to. My dad was he's an artist. He's a jazz drummer. He still writes novels his day. He's like 75 years old. He writes them. Wow. He gets them every day for 2 hours and writes. But his dad wanted to be a doctor and never accepted him for who he was. And that created insecurities that carried over my dad's life even to this day. But because of that, he was kind of a shitty dad. And not necessarily his fault. My mom, they got divorced when I was in first grade and moved away. My mom moved me and my younger brother away. My older brother stayed with him. So he wasn't around. He didn't go to my football games. He wasn't kind of around. And I think a young man needs his validation from his father. And so I think that lack of validation led to a lot of my drive in football and in business and life and everything else.
Finally get to a point where you can get his attention.
It's not even necessarily after that. You create a habit, so it's not even so much about his attention anymore. It's just that's what started it.
That's how you work.
That's how the snowball started rolling down the mountain.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then when you realize that, I think it takes the ability to reflect, to see where your motivation has come from and how it's gotten to you a certain point. It's like Jim Rome says, like, you grind until you get the top. When you get to a certain level of satisfaction, then enjoy that level of satisfaction, And so that's one of my life lessons. Another life lesson for me, I think, was like codependency, I think maybe part of the validation thing led into that. But I went through a lot of bad relationships in and out of them, and I would kind of like bounce from one to the next and catch girls. And I was pretty decent with ladies, so it was easy. You know what I mean? And you'd get in a relationship and be like, well, this isn't working. Let me try to fix her. But
right.
When all along, you probably had no business being in that relationship in the first place. And so, then I got lucky with my wife, and I healed through a lot of that stuff. But the point of the story, I think, is we all need to reflect on, our life lessons, and are we learning them, and are we paying attention to them, or when they bubble at the top, are we justifying our actions of what's going on, and are we not paying attention to them? And I think that if we don't, what's going to happen is we're going to have to live them again, and until we do. And I think it's just a process of continuing to learn through those lessons until we continue to evolve as spirits.
You think a lot of people are paying attention to one of the things I've kind of started talking to with other mentors I've got too is like social media is you got people that aren't really even figuring themselves out yet, but they're posting some inspirational messaging that at the end of the day either needs asterisks next to it or it shouldn't exist altogether.
Yeah.
One of the things I see all the time, you see it all the time is if you don't love what you're doing, then you're doing the wrong thing. And it's like most people love what they're doing, but they don't love all the activity that has to go along with getting to do that. Like LeBron James probably loves playing basketball, but he probably doesn't like being in an ice tub 5-6 days a week. And he probably doesn't love
You should try the ice tub. It's pretty good.
It is pretty good. I've done it. I've done it because of you.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I hate it every minute of it.
Oh, that's where you get used
I like getting out of it. Getting out's exciting, especially when
getting into the hot tub afterwards is really good.
Getting in the hot tub's great. You get a stinging feeling.
Yeah.
But being in it sucks every second of it. There's not one second where I'm like, I actually really like this.
Yeah.
But LeBron leaving his family for 20 hours a week to go travel or go do I guarantee you he's not like, that's what I love, leaving my family for 20 to 25 hours a week and doing these things. He probably hates all that.
Yeah.
But he's doing stuff that he hates to do what he loves, right? And I think what a lot of people, I get it from, I'm not going to say who people in my family where, I see them like, I don't really know if I love this. Like, no, you don't love that part of your life. That part of your life allows you to do this thing, though. You told me you love doing this. Like, yeah, I love that part, but I don't love this.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think for me at least, the more you love something, the more you've got to be willing to do the stuff that you hate along with it in order to get to do that thing.
And it's a habit. It's like anything else is a habit. Like the grind and working hard. And I think some people are born with better, buckets of motivation and grind. Some people develop it. You know what I mean? But that's definitely a big part of it. I think that growing up, people that don't go into entrepreneurship or around business development or business growth, like for me, I'll use myself as an example, okay? Coming out of college, I tried to start a business. I didn't know anything about it. It was tremendously scary for me, and I didn't grow up around like business people or money, so like it was so much different for me to learn. And I was able to just squeak by financially while I was trying to figure this thing out before I tried to go out and get a job that like, and it bought me the time to learn these things, the skill set, you know, of business and the people. And I think a lot of people are so used to like, they get plugged into the business world and getting that paycheck and that security that it's hard for them to ever get out of it and go do something that they are passionate about, or that could, because it's a complete shift in their mindset, right? They go from being an employee to being their own boss. And a lot of times they don't have enough time to bridge that gap when they do try to take that step, so they fail at it because they run out of money, or they don't you know, and they're back into the, and that was for me at least, and I got really close to it. But when I eventually figured it out and learned those skill set, it just continued to grow. And then once you get out of it, you can never go back to that unless you knew you were adding value to something, because your skill set grows. It's not the first $1 million you make that's important. It's all the shit you learn, the relationships you develop, your network, your skill set to get you there, because then you can just use that and duplicate it over and over in other fields. Now, also don't take consideration getting lucky too.
Yeah. Some people get lucky too.
Well, you know, some industries are richer than others, and they get people to get in the right time. I always say, you know, you could be the best business guy in the world, but you're the model at 5% margins versus one with 40% margins. You're in the wrong business.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or if you got in during a time where like the economy is really bad and now you're in this certain sector of real estate where you actually benefit from it, like that just worked well for you.
There's actually a book called, I forget it's called When or something like that, but it talks about timing, or the art of time. But that's exactly right. They look at people that like were born like in boom or graduated college in boom economies versus graduated college with recessions, and it has a direct correlation on their earnings, their happiness, all this other stuff, just for when they graduated college.
You know, it's funny, we were just talking about that at dinner Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night. I went out to dinner with an employee that actually won MVP at our company.
Awesome.
And he came out of college during a recession. He came out of college the same year I started my business.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, same thing. I started my business when it was like the economy was at its worst. And I see people today that they started their business when their economy's at their best, and they have a very different. Yeah, and it's like very like I feel like I'm 100% prepared for when the recession kicks in again, whereas I don't know if they are.
Correct.
And you know, one of the things that
because they're
not. Probably not. And one of the things that he said is, he goes, I feel like I'm really lucky that I got out of school when there was a recession, because I couldn't get a job. Like I had to take the crappiest jobs, and I started really developing an appreciation with like, you know, every job, even jobs that I hated, just getting appreciation with it. And, you know, now that the economy's good, you know, I see people that get out of college and they just get like a really good job right away. And it's like, I'm really worried for them, because I don't know when the recession hits if they know how to get a job that isn't looking for employees, because we're in growth mode.
100%.
Because in a recession, every business is closing down, and the only employees they're getting are the ones that could save their business.
Yep.
They're not looking for like somebody to fill in the blank.
100%. You're exactly right. I mean, for me, like I'll just give you a perfect example. Like right now, I'm starting to see some softening in the housing market, and the first thing that I'm doing is underwriting deals harder. I'm stress testing my portfolio. I'm getting exit strategies on every single one of my loans. I'm preparing for these things because I'm seeing them.
You're seeing a recession coming?
I don't know if I see the recession coming. I say I'm seeing some cracks in the housing, market. We have rising rates. We have an inventory issue. More inventory is coming on. Prices are being dropped. So I'm starting to see it. I'm talking to tile companies. They're down. Their volume is down 50%. I'm talking to other lenders, like they're not getting the same volume as they were before. I mean, I'm just seeing these things, and I'm seeing them firsthand. Like my loan requests have gone down, and so the point of the story is like I'm seeing this stuff, and I'm being extremely proactive to get in front of it. You know what I mean? But as of people that don't know how to deal with that, especially when you get in your first deal and you get into it during a good economy, you think you're the best entrepreneur on planet Earth, right? You know, a rising tide floats all ships.
You think starting a business is easy. If you're an employee, you think getting a job is easy. 100%.
So, you know, there's economies are cyclical, man. They have to be. You can't go forever.
Well, it's good though. I think it's good because I think, you know, the people I've talked to Dirk Berg, you know, who's been through a few of them.
Sure.
You know, it's great because now, you know, you always hear like you've got it too. Like the best mentors have taught me stuff like, you know, when things are really great, always know they can go down. And when things are really down, always know they can get great. You've just got to have that balance of like, I'm not as good as I think I am, and I'm not as bad as I think I am either.
100%.
You know?
It's like my coach, my football coach, I was just saying, it was the truth. You know, you go out there and you know, he's at the end of the practice, he'd rip your ass. This is the worst practice I've ever seen, you know. And then the next day, next end of practice, this practice was awesome. You guys really, and you look at the tape, same goddamn practice, man. Right. It's never as good or as bad as you think it is, you know.
Right.
But like I had a good run in the pharmacy space, but I got into business that had huge margins, you know what I mean? And so like one thing that, you know, I think it's important to always continue to learn and always continue to grow. You know, me personally, if I'm trying to read a book a week, I'm probably like 25, 30 on the year, so I got a little catching up to do. But it's just like, look, Tony Robbins talks about the 6 human needs, but the only 2 of them that actually lead to joy and satisfaction are growth and contribution. And I think it's important for everyone to continue to grow and to learn and then also to give back and contribute.
And that's so Valley Guardians, that's your thing. And I know I've gone to your events.
ValleyGuardians.com.
ValleyGuardians.com. But yeah, so talk about Valley Guardians, because that's actually a really cool thing that you guys have been doing.
Yeah, man. So Valley Guardians, you know, me and some buddies kind of mimicked. I got a friend named Braden Hootie, who's in the EO with me and from Saskatchewan, Canada. They've been running a charity up in Canada for 10 years now, and they've raised over $1 million. And pretty cool model, you know. They get everyone up together, all their business associates and networking. And they have a big event up in Saskatchewan. We go, you know, ride snowmobiles and have the kids come up and speak. And then we have a big old auction at the end to raise money. So I went up to it 2 years, and I was like, shit, man, we got to go come do this in Arizona. This is be awesome. Right. The little difference between our charity and most charities is that we have a $0 operating budget. I feel like a lot of times people get into the charities where, you know, it's either a publicity thing or it's a fundraiser party. We wanted to make sure that every single dollar that our donors donate is going directly to the kids. And so we've had 2 events so far. First event, which you were at, we met at my house, had the program, had all the kids there that we're going to represent. Went and did.
Can we see the kids for everybody listening that never heard of this before? Like, who are you helping? What
Sure. So we 60% of our money goes to the Challenge Foundation. So Challenge Foundation was started by a guy named Don McFall out of Colorado. Their mission is to break the cycle of poverty 1 kid at a time. So they have 3 chapters: 1 in Colorado, 1 here, and 1 in, I think, El Paso, Texas. So I think they bring 7 to 9, maybe it's 15 kids per class in a year. Now he has contracts and deals with private schools from 5th grade all the way through high school. They get these kids in private schools. They match them up with a mentor. So when you get in, and these kids are underprivileged, like don't have any resources. They're poor kids, but they have great families, and they're intelligent, and their test scores are above. So that they know that there's a high probability with the right resources and right mentorship, these kids are going to go on and you know change the world, and it's going to ripple through their community and everything else. And so I got involved with Challenge Foundation as a mentor probably about 3.5 years ago. My wife got involved, Braden, you know, 4 other, like Jeremy Ellens, a bunch of other guys on our board are mentors, Alex Carpillo. So we're all mentors of
really
these
cool.
kids. And we hang out with them. It's probably once a month for a couple hours. And my kid's in 8th grade now. I think I got him when he was in 5th grade. He's going to go to high school next year. And I'm going to buy him a car, by the way, because his ass lives so far away that I don't want to keep picking him up. But that's why I'm waiting until he turns 16. Oh, thank God. But you know, so the Challenge Foundation is really, really cool. They match with a mentor. Once they teach them they teach it like giving back. They do community service. They're in public schools. They go from All Saints to Brophy and Xavier, then on through college. And like I had the opportunity to go up to Colorado and see their chapter and kids that have gone to college and then graduated in the workforce. And these kids are freaking amazing kids, right? Really? And they're like contributing to like society, and their families are happy, and they give back to the community.
And reciprocity, I mean, the whole reason they got there, a big reason why they got there is because people were making an impact to them.
And they see that,
so
and they see that, and they give back. They give back. So that's Challenge Foundation. We give 60% of our money to the Challenge Foundation, and we're working on right now a scholarship program for the Genesis Academy, which is another. It's a charter school for kids that have had to drop out. They want to go back to school and finish their education, and they drop out for reasons that they have to go work for the family. They got pregnant or whatever else, and so we're putting together that scholarship. And then we represent. We do it like a back to school drive for some poor kids, and a Christmas for some poor kids. And we're looking to build at Santa Nina Church a new school building for the after school program. And so, you know, it's all kids in need. And then we have one-offs, people that have kids that are out there that they know in their community that could use help, medical assistance. You know, I've had Berg send me a couple of people potentially that couldn't afford something they needed, and we have an application for that. So we save our money for one-off, two-off occurrences, and we reach out to our network and our donors to see if they have anybody in their network as well that they want to send our way that we could possibly help out. And so, you know, in the past, we only done I think we raised something like $440,000 in 2 years of events. We have our next event coming up in March. And the way it works is everyone on the board invites 10 to 15 of their closest friends they think that have the right mentality and the right heart for what we're all about. And then we have the program where the kids come up and speak. We have, and you can go check there's a video on valleyguardians.com, which is pretty cool to kind of see what goes on. And then you have.
I was there when you had one of the kids.
Yeah, it was super cool. It's tearjerker. You see these kids, it's really cool. And then we have, and then the kids, they go away, and then we have, a party.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's a good time.
The party was fun.
Yeah, and then the end, what we raise all the money for is an auction. Okay. And then we have an auction. This year we secured a $150,000 matcher as well. So, it's been, that's really important. I wouldn't say that I was, I didn't grow up the same way that these kids grew up, but I grew up feeling financial struggle, and my mom being a single parent, and she probably made $35,000 a year or something back then in the day, raising 2 kids, and my dad was tried to help as much as he can, which was about zero when it comes to financial stuff, and so it's just important to, I think, to give. And I like to do it, and it just makes me feel good. I like to do it. I'm 3rd or 4th year now as a accelerator coach, and I try to help people. I try to be the guy that, like, anytime someone comes to me, I'm there to help them out and offer any knowledge or resources or whatever else I have, because I think that's important. And I think that people that try to hold information to the vest because they don't want people to steal their shit, I think, open up the playbook.
Well, you get stuff out of it too. Like, there's a few people that I'm kind of mentoring too that are getting started, and it's funny because as I'm mentoring them, I'm telling them stuff that clearly I know now, like the back of my hand, but I don't necessarily practice 100%. And then I realize, like, wait, I haven't done that in a while myself.
Dude,
I kind of need to get back to that.
Sharpens your saw, dude. You're gonna, like, do what I say, not what I do.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's actually good. And one of the things that Berg taught me too, he really likes coaching the guys that are just starting out because they're so much closer to the work and the end product, but they think like an entrepreneur, but they're doing like the employee work, right?
100%.
And so when Berg's like, he says, I need to solve a problem, not an entrepreneur has had to figure it out, so they develop that skill of figuring it out a little better than somebody that hasn't had to, like, or else you don't make payroll and you have to tell somebody that you really like that
100%.
You have to be fired, right?
Desperation is a hell of a motivator.
Yeah, and he's right, because I remember when he was mentoring me, I was that guy, and so I would be like, yeah, you do this isn't for him. He's like learning stuff, and I'm like, he's teaching me all the big stuff, but he didn't know about that email.
Oh, dude, they're the scrappiest. They know all the newest technologies and what works, what doesn't work. They have good resources. I learned a ton from them, and they keep you on track. You're kind of like, maybe I need to be doing that a little bit more often because, you get a little. I wouldn't say in the prairie, but like you had a little bit of success and you got a little bit of a groove and you kind of cruise along and sometimes. Getting around them gives you a little bit of that
juice.
Yeah. It's because you're feeding off of it. It reminds you, like, 6, 7, 8 years ago when you were in that situation. I was in that situation, man. I was working out of a 1-bedroom apartment, a shitty little apartment. I had my desk in my office, like grinding, trying to make calls. Like I didn't know how to sell anything, dude. You know what I mean?
Like the little hatchback you were driving.
Dude, it was yeah, man. It was.
Could you fit in a hatchback? Did you have your legs out the window?
I just kind of like throw my arm out there, dude. But it was, but then you think back to those times and you're like, man, that was awesome because I didn't have a care in the world and there was no responsibility and
you couldn't lose anything.
You couldn't, you grind every day and it was just some things were new and excited. It's kind of like when you first got to go out to a bar, like at 21, you're like, oh man, bars are awesome. Even though I was going to them when I was like 18 because I had a fake ID.
Yeah.
But everything, I don't care what it is. Or it's like when you get a new car and it's a really cool car and you look back at it and every time you walk away from it, you're like, that car's freaking badass. Yeah. But then like 6 months, you're like, that's my car. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like everything kind of wears off.
I was talking to my wife about this and my cousin was there. And I remember we were talking and it was like, I went through three different phases. The first phase was I had nothing to lose. There's nothing I could have lost.
Yeah.
I didn't even have my car at one point.
Yeah, right? You told me that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really had nothing to lose. I was able to take any risk, and there's nothing that they could have taken from me. There was nothing in my account. I had maybe $14 at most sometimes. And then it got to the point where I started making money, and then it became all protection mode and fear.
Yep.
And it was like, oh man, what if I lose? I worked so hard to get to this point. I worked so hard. Now I finally have some sort of security here. And then, now where I'm at with my wife, it was funny because I was talking with my cousin was in the room, and she was like, she asked me about a risk or something. I was like, yeah, it's a big risky move. I was like, but what happened? If it fails, it fails. She's like, yeah, but could you lose like everything if it fails? And I go, I don't think so. But if I do, like, I'll get it back. Like, it's fine. Yeah. And like for her, she's like, what are you talking about? But then I realized, like, I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago.
Don't risk it all.
I'm not. But the point is, I feel like, let's say something happened. Let's say,
absolutely.
I can't think of what it is now, but I'm sure a lot of people have been crashed down by something they couldn't think of before either. But I feel like if something happens, like I'd be able to figure out a way to get everybody back.
You have the skill set because you develop that skill set, and that comes with experience. What I think what you're saying, and I think when you're kind of climbing up, and you're just right there, you don't have the confidence enough to think you can do it again because it's kind of your first rodeo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you get a little more seasoned and a little more experience, and you've had multiple deals and you've done multiple things, you've seen a lot, and then you have confidence. It would suck, but you could use your skill set probably because you have that skill set developed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As when younger guys, as they're getting going, they're just not there yet. You know what I mean? Or they're not as close to where it needed to be. And everyone's different too. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, hanging around you guys made it a lot easier for me because I see you guys doing it, and I'm like, all right, so this can be done.
Well, dude, every time I come in your office, bro, there's like the triples in size. I was like, what the hell is going on over here, man?
I know.
I want to start hanging out in here, dude. Like drinking the water. I don't know. Is it the snacks? I don't know.
It's the snacks. We're great at snacks. Hey, man, listen, I appreciate you coming down here. And actually now, for everybody watching, listening, how much I respect Loren as a coach and mentor. He's actually going to be going and meeting with my team a little bit too because I want to be able to share the mentorship a little. So you're going to spend a little bit of time with my team for is that good? Are we still good on that? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good for you.
Yeah. Good for me. I appreciate it, buddy. Like it's really exciting to see success and everything that's going on and kind of watch you grow. It's just been a blessing, man, and it's cool. You're like a peer. You're a peer now. It's not even mentorship. I mean, every time I come in, you tell me what's going on. I'm like fucking taking mental notes and shit, you know. Like, so it's been really cool. It's gonna be cool to continue to watch. So.
Oh, it's funny you see that because I still see you as a hell of a mentor. So.
Appreciate it, buddy.
All right, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy.
For everybody watching and listening, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or find our podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever your favorite place to listen to podcasts might be. And if you really like this episode, please leave a review for us on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.